Raise the microphone. There you go. Be aware of the camera because you're being filmed. I mean, yeah, no, it's true. Acknowledge the previous lecturer. Yes, do that as well. And make a joke. Yes, I used to work with viruses and I don't know what they are either, you know. So, and this is my version of the slide you just saw, which has the word SETI Institute on it, because I am a research scientist at the SETI Institute. I work amongst a lot of astronomers. I actually am interested in issues of where life might be found in outer space and so forth and all that cool kind of stuff. And I do a lot of lab work related to that, along with, you know, trying to collaborate with colleagues and so forth. And I'm just going to launch straight in. I was a last-minute replacement. They had a different Natasha Battle. Thank you. And she was from NASA Ames, and the government shut her down. So I was sort of asked Wednesday afternoon, we need a lecture in 2 days. And I was busy doing an experiment at the time, and then I came back, and I said I might be able to do it. And then I ended up doing it. And I was sent to Modesto Junior College, which is an absolutely amazing place. You know, you hear junior college and you go along and think, oh, it's a community college. No, don't think that. It has a science community center. It has an observatory. It has a museum with a telescope, with a really nice telescope, 28, 27 inch. I don't know. It's has a museum there, which is a great facility. Got a planetarium, and there's a planet display there. I put a couple of them up there because I took photos. And again, the student and faculty were just amazing. They had a robust astronomy program. They're part of the MESA thing, this mathematics, engineering, science, promotion thing. And the students, I found, were just incredibly engaged. It was from the venue point of view, was incredibly successful. And the schedule worked too. I didn't really know the schedule because I'd been a talk. First I've suggested lunch. Donna said come to lunch, and I was too busy in last-minute panic mode to actually do lunch. And then they gave me a tour of the museum. They put the boat out, and you've got to expect this. I think that people are going to want to welcome you and to visit you and so forth. So I had a great visit looking at the museum. There's some various pictures there, and then they flung me into a room with students, and there I am. You can always tell me from behind because of the grey hair. But nevertheless, and I had to work with the students there, and that was a great experience. And then, of course, I had the seminar, which was videoed, which is why I started out. They'd say, oh, do you mind being videoed? And I think, oh, right. And put online and so forth. So I gave the seminar. I'll talk a bit more about that in a second. And then at the end, they had their science night. Donna has preempted all of this, right, by telling you all of this before. But the science night was something that I wasn't expecting. I wish I had planned for it by eating something because I had to go and get food and everything. But it was something I really wanted to hang around and be part of, and I ended up having to leave after having a tour of the telescope there, and that's the observatory up there. And it was absolutely fantastic that they had all these people there. The students were putting on this show. I could have stayed there all night, all evening until it ended, and actually really enjoyed myself. And I regret leaving at about 8:39 or something, and because I was so hungry. The talk worked. I was a last-minute replacement, less than 4 hours. I did not really appreciate my audience. I was not quite sure I was going to be there, so I did this trick, which proved useful, that I had a few hidden slides hidden away in case I felt I wasn't explaining enough or things. So I gave my talk options in there. Donna said, oh, you can just give your regular... No, it's a public lecture. Sorry, I didn't mean to demean you, Donna. It's that you were trying to encourage. I do understand, and you put me straight later. It was a public lecture, so a regular research talk will not do. You have to do a lot of introduction. I mean, why am I saying this? You just heard it all from the people who understand this, but you have to tell a story. You have to tell a story and go somewhere with it, and you need to make it personal in some way. And so I tried to do that the best I can. My audience was professional scientists, students, and the general public. It's also, and this wasn't said, this program is an opportunity for institutional outreach. And I mean that in the most broadest sense. You're not just selling science, you're selling science institutions in the area. You're selling, the university you come from and so forth. And you're a representative of that as well. And that's something you need to bear in mind, that this is an opportunity to sell yourself and the people you work with. And that's both in a narrow and a broad sense. And, that I think is very important when you're talking to the public. What was unexpected was, if anything was unexpected, it was the quality and type of questions. And this has been touched on already. There was really nice science questions, and in both venues where I had to answer questions. So let's start off with the students. They had lots of science questions. They were also very focused, and I was warned about this. I was not really prepared for this. Careers and career paths, they really care. Students today really want to know that they're going somewhere. This is an attitude change, at least to me it seems like. Maybe it reflects me when I was a student, but it's an attitude change that kids today, they want to know they're going to achieve something, that they're going to go somewhere, that what they're doing is worthwhile. So they're looking for validation, they're looking for advice. I had someone come up to me, I'm really interested in neuroscience, and what do you know? Fortunately, I have a daughter-in-law who's heavily into it. She teaches neuroscience at UC San Diego, so, I was able to answer some of her questions, but nevertheless. And I found also that, some of the students, of course, never talk. So I think it's very important to reach out to those guys and do the 1-2 technique where you sort of ask them what they're doing and then come back to them about 3 questions later and say, okay, why don't you try asking me a question? And so that was something I did, and that was something that actually proved very worthwhile because I think I got everybody in the room to ask a question. And I think if you're going to do this kind of thing with the students, that's the sort of thing you need to do. And if they quieten down, you need to tell them something cool. So I came up with an idea for something cool, and I spent about 3 minutes telling, which stimulated more questions. So, it's whatever. And so if it's not on your agenda and you're doing one of these, ask for it. Ask. I want to reach out. I want to talk to students. I want to get together with the science group or the astronomy club or whatever. I don't know. And the questions after the talk, they were good. Good science questions, giant planets, would life in space likely look like an Earth, when are the aliens coming? I didn't get that one. That would be an oddball question, and that's the one I didn't get, but I did get a question on public policy and asking about NASA cuts and what I felt about them. And then you sort of look and see the guy videoing you and all the words about going up on YouTube. So, and you've got to remember, I've written the word SETI Institute on every slide like I've done here to make sure you know about the SETI Institute. And I was like thinking, I think I watched myself back and I seem to remember sitting there for an eternity thinking how I was going to answer that. And I answered it from a personal point of view, which I think was the best way. But be ready for that kind of thing. I was ready for oddball questions, and I didn't get any, but public policy and asking what I thought, I should have been because I'm a substitute guy, because of the governmental chaos, but I wasn't, and it's a factor. So, we're back to what didn't work or could have been better, and, it's all about preparation. You really do have to prepare this thing. It's not enough just to pick up a few slides, think I can shove it together with an introductory lecture and a thing, and say that, you need, there were technology problems at the start, so send your slides well in advance. Sorry, Deb, I didn't do it for this. The technology problem was just a Mac PC thing, and we resolved it, but we did have to move my talk around, and it delayed the start. The public seminar needed preparation. By that I mean that I was short of time, so I think I did an okay-ish job, but I would have liked to have included more dynamic visuals, better slides that were adapted instead of ones that I've just sort of simplified from research, try and put together a little bit more custom as I tell my story. I was actually unprepared for the student session. I had not sat down and thought about the sort of questions they might ask and so forth. I was vaguely aware it might happen, but it was not on my radar at all. And the venue, do research who you're going to talk to. The venue was amazing. If I'd known some more about it, I could have asked more intelligent questions and things. Those guys down in Modesto, Dan at the back there, is a major guy. And the public policy question was unexpected. So just thinking about these things and going through the list, and actually the advice we've already had is, bang on, I think. And so, and I prepared for a seminar experience. The event was a little thing I thought of right at the start of it, so that was like the first thing I wrote on this. And I'm ending here with a joke, because this is XKCD, and it's about encouraging children to ask difficult questions of science. Here is, why is the sky blue, and why isn't it purple? Because if we're scattering high-energy light, it should be purple. And this is something we all should be doing and all be aiming to do with this talk. And so that was my quick description of a Shapley, and thank you very much.